Okay, we're going to start with the nation. Consensus candidate, our best option, Buhari insists. Petrol freight rates rises. Kwalabiola is PRP presidential candidate. APC, a moment of decision. 11 held in drug seizure at Abuja, Lagos Airport. Makinde's deputy, Rauf Olaniyan, defects to APC. How gunmen invaded church and killed many in Owo. Okay, which story are we starting with in the nation?
Okay, so 11 people have been arrested in what NDLEA is describing as a huge drug seizure at the Abuja and Lagos Airport. So it's the usual rundown of arrests that have been made either at the airports or interstate travels arrests. And the few of the names I put down because there are just so many names, but there's one which is who's quite interesting. She's a 35-year-old physically challenged lady. Her name is Kasarachi Onumaju. She was arrested with some consignment, as they said. There's an Ofochi Machiliobi with 200 blocks of cannabis sativa that was concealed in 40 sacks of bitter leaf. You know, different, just the usual to show us that NDLEA is working and the drug peddlers are peddling. Yeah.
Even with the work. So the federal government has increased the freight rates of petrol by 10 naira per litre. This, they said, is good news for commuters and road transport workers. It said that a circular will be issued today. It's supposed to be starting from the 1st of June. Now, the President's Nigerian Association of Road Transport Workers, NATO, Alhaji Yusuf, said the increase was because most of the transporters could not afford the cost of diesel, which had moved from 600 naira per litre to 800 naira per litre. So if you need like 1,000 litres to be able to move from one state to the other, you will be paying about 800,000 naira, and it wasn't funny at all. So it causes a lot of, queues at the filling station. People are, always looking for ways to buy this. And the black market PMS was now going for 3,000 to 4,005 per litre in some states, especially in Abuja. So this is good news for the transporters. It seems like the government has come to their rescue and they are happy, expecting that the circular will be published today.
Okay, so the major headline, the president had a meeting yesterday appealing to the party leaders of APC to agree on the consensus candidate. According to him, they have quite a bit of spheres of influence and they need to apply themselves to see what they can do. So according to him, he says, my charge and appeal to you, so therefore, is to reach out to your various spheres of influence to actively promote and the spirit of consultation, consensus building, so that formidable candidates of 2023, their issue really is to win the elections, because they have an opposition who has been able to zone to the north, and they're saying and so far the APC has zoned south, which is already big news from the APC side. But aside from zoning south, it's important for them to now decide who amongst the 13 who will make the short list will become president, will become the candidate. And the president is saying that everybody must come to the table. Today is a big day. Nigerians are expecting the results today. They have between today and Wednesday, I believe, to come up with, to have their convention and agree on their candidate. And all eyes are on APC convention at this moment. Okay.
A bit of good news. The president celebrates with the president greets Kumuyi, and we all know Kumuyi. The press statement read about the history of the impact of deeper life on the Christendom, speaking for peace, praying for peace, winning souls, and all of that. And he clocked 81, which is a huge milestone in Nigeria, knowing how life expectancy is really small. We'll continue to pray that he lives long so that he can see a Nigeria that he will be proud of, because he's also one of those that are complaining in his own message about peace being in Nigeria.
Okay, let's move on now to the Punch. Gunmen disguised as worshippers massacre over 35 in Ondo Church. Primaries. Buhari meets governors, party chairman, stakeholders, police tighten security. 3 die as Lagos Ministry police hoodlums demolished 200 buildings. National carrier gets license today. Local airlines fault process. 20 power plants suffer major problems, blackouts to worsen. Okay, which story are we starting with in Punch?
Yeah, so it said 3 die as Hundreds of landlords and residents have been rendered homeless. They said the officials of the Lagos State Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development, alongside security agents and hoodlums, demolished about 200 buildings at Okera community, that's Oba area. They said it was a 10-hour demolition exercise, and 3 landlords reportedly died from the shock. They said about 8 landlords are still in the hospital, traumatized, and they are recuperating in different hospitals. Now, according to the eyewitnesses, they said the team stormed that environment around 10 a.m. when some of the residents and landlords had gone to their places of work, and they just started demolition. They did not allow any residents to get in and take out their properties. Said the hoodlums were stopping them and demanding 20,000 naira if you really need to get out your property. So a lot of them had to run away. They could not take anything out. And they were saying that it seemed like that land is not government land, but it seemed like a company had acquired that land through some chiefs who sold the land to them. And they've had issues with the owners, original owners of the land. And so the matter has been in court. So they don't understand why these people will come without any paper showing that they are authorized to demolish and start demolition. The government had responded saying that it's actually government land, and probably they had told them to vacate the area before coming there. But now that 3 people have died and 8 others are in the hospital, I wonder who's going to take care of these ones.
Okay.
Yeah, 20 power plants suffer major problems, and blackouts may worsen, as they say. Our Nigerian story, anyways, it starts with that we have 23 power generating plants with over 11,000 megawatts capacity. But as of right now, 20 of the gas power plants are underperforming, and we're generating, it is 1,936 megawatts as of currently, given the various issues with the power plants. They're saying some are generating below expectation. There's lack of gas, so a few of them have been shut down. A few are undergoing maintenance, and that's why just the accumulation of everything at once is why we're going through what we're going through. The Ministry of Power has spoken, and they're saying they first apologize for what is happening. They are working on it as usual, and hopefully we'll see some difference.
Right. Let me take the story on the aviation. So the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority is set to present the ATL, which is the air transport license, to the interim management of the Nigeria Air. If you recall, this was launched 4 years ago. And now they're going to be having this license to provide scheduled and non-scheduled services. But this is not the all-important air operator certificate yet. That once they have that, they can then fully begin rights to begin air services. But this is also an important certificate for them to have. But the president of the Association of Foreign Airlines and Representatives in Nigeria, Kingsley Nwokuma, is worried that they're not being transparent about this process. According to him, they're also supposed to have investors from Nigeria, like local investors, and they're worried that we don't know exactly where the investors are coming from, that they should make it transparent so we know who's going to be running the Nigerian Air and see where and if they can also have stakes in these new operations. Okay, another story in Punch, but we shut down. Okay, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, move on to other topics, other papers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Moving on now to Daily Sun. Decision day in APC. 6,000 aspirants in fierce battle against Lawan. Senatorial election. Abag traders root for Ikpeazu. Insecurity. Abia government restricts herders, cows to cattle market. VONDG mocks PDP over Northern APC governor support for Southern president. Government kill policeman, another in Delta. Food prices continue to rise despite 948 billion naira injected by CBN into agriculture. Anger tears as terrorists kill scores in Ondo Church. Okay, which story are we starting with in Sun?
Yes, in Sun, I want us to take CBN. So the CBN has injected 948 billion into agricultural sector. The agricultural sector has contributed 30% to the GDP, as well as manufacturing sector contributing 13% to the GDP. However, despite the injection of funds, the agricultural challenges of food prices has refused to crash. Obviously, because there are many other issues. He said the food shortage and its attendant exorbitant price. the Bureau explained that there are many other issues involved. Access to formal credit is still critical for purchasing inputs in seeds and fertilizers, plant protection and material, animal feeds, and a combination of all of this is still leading to shortage in food availability and therefore increase in food prices despite the financial injections. I see, obviously, the injection isn't solving the problem. A lot more needs to be done.
Okay, take another
so,
story.
yeah, in recent times, we've heard a lot of stories about kidnappings in the southeast, in Abia State, Anambra State, Imo State. We heard about the prelate who was just recently released after paying 100 million ransom. And so think about two other reverend fathers were also abducted in the same state. So the Abia State government has announced a restriction of herders and cows within the cattle markets area. So they are not supposed to move out of that cattle market area. They said that the youths had been protesting and demanding that the cattle market be relocated as it allegedly serves as a hub for a lot of criminality. So the Abia State government has mandated the security agencies to make sure that those people do not leave that cattle area and also to draw up logistics requirements for mounting 6 additional checkpoints at strategic locations. So they also advise that all herders and all individuals who live in the forest should find their way out of the forest because they cannot guarantee security in those forests for now.
Okay, so the DG of Voice of Nigeria, Osita Okechukwu, has commended the Northern States governors and the political leaders within the APC for strengthening democracy by ceding power to the South. According to him, it's worth commending that they're able to show the progressive slight of the APC by doing this. In his exact words, he said, they thoroughly shamed the leaders of the opposition party out of desperation for power, and that he's saying that for ceding power to the South, they are hoisting Nigeria's unity flag and advancing the frontiers of democracy. This was quite commendable because many were going back and forth on the issue of the fact that there might be zoning power to the north regardless. And you know the whole issue that happened with President Buhari, people claiming all sorts of things and calling him names. So this gesture by the ruling party shows that indeed the northern region of the country is alluding to brotherhood by ensuring that the South gets power this time around. Okay, moving on now to the Nigerian Tribune. Blood, sorrow, tears in Owo. APC make or break convention, or your deputy governor defects to APC. Power generation falls below 3,000 megawatts. Gunmen abduct Catholic priest in Kogi. I think we're taking most of the stories here. Is there any other story we haven't taken? Let's move on because was our story later, yeah. So let's just move on to Vanguard.
Well, I think I took the priest story. Let me just quickly take it. So a Catholic priest, Reverend Father Christopher Onoto, has been abducted by gunmen, and this happened Saturday night. This happened in Kogi State, OK local government. So they said these gunmen came into the church premises, the vicarage specifically, at about 9 p.m., went through the window, took the priest away, took his phones, took out the SIMs from his phones and threw the phones away, and a car was also taken. No one knew about it until Sunday for Mass, and people came and found the whole place, in disarray. And so, yes, there are still no developments on the priest's whereabouts, and they're waiting to hear from the kidnappers.
Okay, let's start with the point. APC in tight corner over WHO. Who leads it to victory in 2023? How NGO recovered sexagenarian from pool of blood 40 days after disappearance. Nigeria's problems are peculiar. Country needs a new direction, says Rufai Alkali. Nigeria records 1.2 trillion naira trade surplus in first quarter, and CBS should integrate Bureau de Change into Forex market network to fulfill their mandate. Is there a story in the points?
Yes, I've got a human interest story. So this, the Alimi family in Ile Agbo Okeofa, Atipe area of Ibadan State, said that April 21st, 2022 is a day that will forever be ingrained in their memory. They said they had their mom, they hadn't seen her. She had gone missing for 40 days. She was living with one of her daughters, and she had just gone, you know, out. And she had gone for, her mother informed her that she was going to a prayer mountain at the Ojo area of Ibadan. And for 40 days since that day, they had been looking for her, put out all the information to find her, and they couldn't. Unfortunately, 40 days later, this NGO said that they found her at the Bodija sawmill area of Ibadan. She was there lying in her own pool of blood. There's a picture of her with a huge gash on her forehead. And they were able to take her to the hospital, help her to recuperate while they put the news out, and her family were able to finally, yes, finally
that's good. That's some good news.
Yes.
Yeah. So the Nigerian trade, good news, another good news, Nigeria is Africa's largest economy, achieved a gain between the last quarter of last year and the first quarter of this year. There's actually a trade surplus. So the total trade that took place was 13 trillion, which was higher than 11 trillion recorded in the fourth quarter of 2021. And we had a surplus because the difference between what we imported and what we exported was huge to our own benefit. 5 main countries that we exported to were India, Spain, Netherlands, Indonesia, and the United States. But this is good news in that we've always had deficit before, but now we had trade surplus between our export and imports.
Moving on to Vanguard quickly, let's find a story we've not taken. Apapa gridlock, Comtour frowns at illegal extortion. Strike, ASU may make the concessions in some demands. INEC to produce 430 million ballot papers in 2023 general elections. Osun 2022, I won't betray my conscience, Oyetola tells the electorate. ADC presidential ticket, Kachuku Mogalu, others take battle to Abeokuta. Primary Serap 185 Nigerians sue INEC over failure to extend voters' registration, and 3 escaped death as gunmen set security van carrying cash on fire.
I wish I took the INEC story.
Yes, ASU. So, you know, there's this committee, Prof. Nimi Briggs Committee, which has been, you know, carrying out negotiations between ASU and the federal government, and they have just about 72 hours to conclude this negotiations. And they have said that there's a lot of progress going on, that likely ASU may make some concessions. But ASU is saying the concessions will not overlook the demands that have financial implications, and though it may just be that they would give the government more time to be able to meet some of their demands. And they said they had a meeting on Saturday, and they have just a few more hours for the BRICS to conclude their results and hand it over to the federal government. It said demands that have financial implications, such as payment of earned academic allowance, revitalization fund, the payment of withheld salaries, are not negotiable. There are some areas we may shift ground, but until it's officially done, let us wait. He said our children are affected as well. We understand the parents' anxiety to what is happening, and we cannot afford to send our children abroad to study in those universities. So this is biting everybody. But the government needs to understand that education is very important, and it must be a priority for Nigeria to move forward.
So let me quickly take the Apapa gridlock story before the Serap story. Apapa gridlock, the president of the association is called Council of Maritime Transport Union and Association, COMTUA. And the complaint is that state agents and non-state agents are frustrating the maritime sector. He named the Nigerian Port Authority, Lagos State Government, LASMA, Nigerian police, and hoodlums, street urchins, who are allowed by security apparatus within the state to extort their members, and that the complaint has been made. The NPA isn't allowing the maritime sector run efficiently, which would have reduced the time that they would be spending on the roads. Being on the roads, they are being extorted by state and non-state apparatus, and what the government is looking the other way when they notice and they are reporting the situations of hoodlums extorting money from their members, and this is making life difficult for them. Now, we know our exports and imports is dependent on these people, and we shouldn't wait until they go on strike, grinding the maritime industry to a halt before we answer them. These are pointing fingers at governments, and governments should respond to them appropriately. Also, the Serap story, please.
Do you have a story? Go ahead.
Please let me take Serap story. Serap has sued INEC to court that INEC postponed the submission date for election, for submission of inter-party names by 1 week, but refused to extend voters registration as requested for, because they've closed voters registration right now from the 30th of May, and the request was they should have extended it till 30th of June, because they gave the same concession to parties, not giving it to the average citizen. So they've taken the case to court, and I'm hoping that we'll get extension for those that haven't gotten it.
It's not about the extension, but people are actually going to pick up. I just read in the papers last week, 20 million PVCs are yet to be picked. Yeah. So you go and you do the act of actually going to register, but you don't go back and pick. What we need you to do is pick up your PVCs.
They will pick it.
20 million have not picked their PVCs.
That doesn't mean we should stop.
I don't know, will you be able to get to Guardian? There's just a story important.
There's a story, we have to wrap up. Let me just rush out. An important story is this. You can go ahead.
It was World Environment Day yesterday.
Oh, yeah, it was.
We have to give you that context.
Yeah.
I can't find it.
And it's just reminding us that this is the only Earth that we have. There's no plan B Earth. And we're just living our lives like we're unaware of that. And we have a climate change crisis on our hands already. I mean, as a nation, we have over 70% of Nigerians using generators to power, their homes. It's just advising us to look for better, sustainable, ways to live our lives. Yes.
Fantastic. All right. That's all we can take on the review. When we come back, the hottest topic in Nigeria. Very sad, but stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.